Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my channel, This and That. Today I have for you episode number 3 of This is Ukraine. Living in Ukraine right now is extremely difficult. Yes, the people are working, they're trying to keep the economy afloat. You might be hearing on the news of constant rocket attacks against our main cities, people living without electricity, but you haven't actually been there to witness and feel what the Ukrainian people feel. So hopefully in the beginning of this episode, I will let you experience the life in Ukraine as it is happening right now. You're going to work. You're on your commute to work, you're going to work, or you're sitting at home working, or you come out with your child to a park, and just living your regular life, and then this happens. Yeah, a raid siren. Not one of the most pleasant noises, wouldn't you agree? Not a pleasant noise whatsoever, actually. So I don't know, you tell me, if you hear this every day and every night, multiple times a day, the siren comes on, how is that going to affect your mental state of being? Well, I will tell you how. Actually, I have so many friends and all of them have shared their experiences with me. So I will just give you the brief ones which I thought that you should know. Well, the first one, most of the guys, when they hear this raid siren, their first reaction is basically, oh, those goddamn Russians are bombing again. I wish they'd all freaking die already. Can't take this crap anymore. Just basically anger, cursing, swearing. And these are the stronger part of the population of our country. The guys, basically, they just curse and swear, but they're used to it. And yes, it probably affects their psychological state, mental state a little bit, but not too much, I would say. Mostly this affects women. These sirens, they affect women quite a lot. So again, my friend, she said when the first siren started, it was pretty scary. And then even after some time, if there was no siren, they would hear sirens, because it's such an annoying and scary sound that even if there is no siren, you might hear one. Then it reached to a point where somebody would hear a siren when there actually isn't one, and then their friends would hear it as well, so it, and she said that at this point she thinks that even when the war is over and some kind of a similar sound appears somewhere, she will probably start hearing a siren. So this scary, horrific sound is already embedded, in her brain, and is associated with explosions, with fear, with discomfort, and all the other negative things that come with this horrible sound of the siren. A lot of people leave the city. They try to go to villages just to get away from this horrific noise and the fear. Others don't care at all. They just go to work and they're used to it and they don't even react to it. But most of the people are actually quite traumatized by these noises and they cannot take it. And mostly it is the women. So this is just a regular day for you, let's say in Kiev, in the capital, raid sirens all the time. Children hearing it all the time, it's a scary noise, so that's probably going to affect them for a while. Then, let's say you're living in a city that is being defended or is being attacked. There you are, sitting at home with no water, no electricity. You have a siren going on in the background, but that's not all. You also have this magical sound of this. I apologize for the noise. But this is just for you to understand in what conditions you have to live in. Your house is shaking from the rockets flying, landing, exploding, mortar shells, artillery shells swooping over your head, exploding somewhere nearby. Once again, no water, no electricity, raid siren going on, explosions, the ground is shaking. How do you feel after that? Just let me do this one more time and have a listen to this beautiful sound. Is it bearable? No. Is it a nice sound? No. How do you feel after that? How do you feel after that towards the Russians? Okay, you say this is Putin, you know, it's Putin. What can we do? It's not the Russians, they're being forced. I will tell you a little bit about that later. So the Ukrainians are very strong people. Although all of this is happening, there was an example in Balaklia where a Ukrainian military force was clearing out the city and the Russians were still shelling and bombing it. And while that is happening, they saw a young lady with her child, with a stroller in the park, you know, just taking out her child. While the ground is shaking, raid sirens, explosions, shells landing, the woman has no choice. Probably the park is the safest place she can go to, because they don't aim for empty space. They aim for houses, infrastructure. So maybe the park was the best place to be at that moment, you know? But how does that make you feel? Is that a nice place to live in? Is that a nice thing to do? To do this to civilians when the land is definitely not yours? But anyway, you know the purpose of the war. I will not get into that. So let me tell you also how the women and the men reacted to all of this. And I will tell you an example of my stepmom and my father. They were living on the outskirts of Kiev in the first days when Russia attacked. And Kiev was well defended. So they were under raid sirens, under rocket attacks, under anti-air defense from Ukraine. They were right next to the border where the clash was happening. So when it quieted down, my stepmom asked my dad to take her and the kids to Lviv, which is on the west side of the country, just because they couldn't take the shaking of the house and the explosions and the machine gun fire that's happening in the woods. It was unbearable. They thought they will die any second. My dad, on the other hand, he didn't care about the explosions. They didn't scare him much. Neither did the raid sirens. What he was really scared of, he told me, the scariest thing that I experienced was when I came out of the house and I heard machine gun fire, just maybe 100 meters, 200 meters in the woods next to our house. He said that made me feel extremely unsafe and eerie. That a stray bullet or anyone can come here and kill me at any moment, and they are so close. So it wasn't the explosions or anything, it was actually the machine gun fire in the woods that made him feel extremely unsafe. So here you go. This is an everyday life of a Ukrainian in Ukraine, whether you live in a major city, whether you're living somewhere close to the front line. This is what we have to deal with no power and no water. It's okay, don't worry. Most of the Ukrainians have wells. Yes, water wells. Most of the Ukrainians are very creative and very talented and technologically educated. So we will get our electricity. Russia will not bring us down by shutting down our infrastructure. I want to tell you that while all of this is happening, the Ukrainian people are still going to work. They're still volunteering. And why? Because we have to defeat our enemy and we have to keep the economy afloat. If we don't work, the whole country will stop. And this actually brings me to one final point in this. It is very important for you to understand something. I am not there, and I am not experiencing this horror which the Ukrainians are experiencing in Ukraine. I'm not there. So I can still draw a line between Putin and his assholes and between the people who have never stood up against their government. I can distinguish Putin and I can distinguish the Russian people. Basically what I'm saying is, I understand that they're just pushovers and they will not stand up to the government, and there's not much I can expect for them. But for a person living in Ukraine in the conditions that I had just mentioned above, there is no line between Putin and Russian people. The line is gone. It is complete hatred towards the whole nation. If in a few years you'll be Russian and you'll come to Ukraine, they will not ask you were you pro-Putin or against Putin. You probably will not want to go to Ukraine ever again for the next 100 years, because the line between the government and the people is long gone. 46 million Ukrainians hate the whole Russian nation right about now. And Europe is now joining us. So, sorry guys, you kind of screwed up. I mean, North Korea didn't do anything to us, so if a North Korean comes to Ukraine, well, they'll say, oh, good you came to us, you know, we heard life is really bad there. If a Russian comes to Ukraine, we'll say, get back to your shithole, because you're not welcome here. So this was the first, let's say, paragraph of what I wanted to cover, and let you understand how the people in Ukraine actually feel while living there. The media is not telling you this. Maybe there is a slight short documentary, but you're probably missing it or skipping it. You need to understand and feel what is happening to understand why we're being supported by so many people and allies and countries. And you need to also understand why you should help us as well to defeat this horrible invasion of this crazy Putin regime. I don't even know what to call it. It's just clown. It's a shit show. Let's get to the next point. Did you know, and you maybe have heard somewhere in the news, that the Russian army is recruiting new members, new people, from their prisons? Yes, you heard this right. They're making battalions and their armed forces now consist of partial criminals, people who have been life sentenced, who are drug addicts, rapists, murderers, etc, etc, etc. Maybe you have not seen this video. Here it is, just at the bottom. I'm not gonna play it with sound. I'll just show it to you real quick, a little bit bigger so you understand what's going on here. This is basically one of the Russian generals in prison recruiting prisoners. Why? What is the promise? And why would he do this? Well, obviously we understand that the Russian army is getting weaker by the minute, and they need to get whatever meat they can get, so they go to prisons. And this is what they promise them. They say, you join us, you fight for us, and in 6 months, if you survive, they didn't say if you survive, which none of them survive, I guess, because they are not military material, let's put it that way. If they survive for 6 months, they come back to Russia as a free man. Think about that. What does that mean? Well, first of all, how reliable are these people? I'll tell you how reliable. They're as reliable as a monkey with a grenade. It will throw it, you just know where. I mean, you just don't know where, and you don't know when. But the monkey will throw the grenade. So, you have an army consisting of partial criminals. They might riot, they might kill all the commanders, they might run away. So that's a very high chance of, you know, a very unpredictable soldier who is not going to basically obey any of the commands. Never mind that. Forget about that. Let's say he survives. Let's say he's a good fighter and he fights well, and everything's all right. So while he's fighting there, what's he doing? Well, if he's a murderer or a rapist, obviously while he's there, he's probably going to kill, rape, murder some of our Ukrainian people, children, elderly, etc., etc. Well, Russia doesn't care about that. Let him do whatever the hell he wants, right? Right. Fine, fine. Our people are suffering because of these criminals. So 6 months pass, and this guy comes back to Moscow or St. Petersburg or wherever hellhole he's from, and he's a free man now. So he becomes your neighbor. If you're Russian, he becomes your neighbor. What does he do? After tasting the sweet blood and pain and suffering on the battlefield, is he going to come back home to Moscow and be a model citizen for everybody? No. He's gonna rape your wife, he's gonna rape your child, or kill them, or whatever it is he was in prison for. So now all the people aren't even safe. The people living in Moscow or St. Petersburg, yeah, they're kind of staying away from this war, you know, because who the hell is going to mobilize people from the capitals? You know, they need the capitals to be safe and quiet and, you know, not be touched. But now that these guys are going to be coming back from war, these criminals and rapists and murderers, they're going to start making chaos there. So now nobody's safe. Moscow isn't safe anymore. St. Petersburg isn't safe. And it's not from Ukrainians. No. It's from your own prisoners that you let out to go fight in this war. How is that? Didn't know about that, did you? And just one little fact. It is against the law by the Russian Constitution to recruit criminals. Yeah. What a shit show. Let's move on. Crimea. Heard about that? It's this huge, well, as you could see, like an island type of thing, which was taken from Ukraine in 2014 during the first invasion of Russia. So they took the Donetsk region, as you can see here on the map, the red one, and they took Crimea. This is from 2014. The light red colors are what they took now on the 24th of February, and the green is what we took back. Anyway, Crimea has been under Russian control for the past 8 years, going on 9. I have a friend there, a very close friend and a very old friend. And I asked him, what is it like there in Crimea? How is like, what's Russia doing? Like, is it okay there? And this is his words. He said, the land here is completely rotten. Nothing will ever good happen here anymore. It's no longer a nice resort place and a place to have fun and enjoy the sea. No. It's done. Why? Well, first of all, because it's Russia. Life in Russia is shit. So anybody who was smart enough or had the ability to leave, they left. Yep, they ran away. So now most of the population of Crimea consists of elderly people. People who don't have the ability to leave, or who don't want to leave because they've been living there for their whole lives and they're too old, and you know how old people are. So yeah, this place has no more young people, just some who haven't made it out yet, or who are still confused about shitty life in Russia and good life in Ukraine, and probably need to become part of the European Union. So yeah, basically the place is going to hell. And of course the Russian tourists who are coming to Crimea to enjoy the beaches. And who comes there? Of course, the pro-Russian crazy tourists who don't understand anything, who have been brainwashed, zombified by their television, and my friend works in a tourist company basically, and he says the tourists now are just these completely brainwashed, zombified idiots, and he always tries to change their mind, and it just doesn't work. Like, he had tried so many different ways to make them see that their government is doing bad things and is bad and life is bad. They just unbreakable in their zombification, basically. So yeah, that place is dead. Russia took it. It's done. No young people. No more businesses. People who had the ability to run away and took their businesses with them. People who have their business and can't run away with it, they're staying there and they're struggling and doing their best, but they are waiting. They are waiting for the green light from Ukraine to say, guys, now it's time to deoccupy Crimea. Get your cocktail Molotovs ready, and let's get these Russians out of here. And maybe just in about 5 or 10 years, Crimea will become good again, and we will burn this rotten ground and this rotten blood from our land, and it will start thriving and living and basically become Ukraine again. So that's about Crimea. Last but not least, a little bit, of course, about Nazis in Ukraine. While we have a Jewish president, yeah, we have Nazis in Ukraine, sure, okay. Just not long ago, there was a Jewish New Year, and in Ukraine, in a little city called Uman, there is the pilgrimage site for Jewish people where they come to celebrate their New Year. And they came this year. Although it is extremely dangerous, they still came and they said, we are not afraid. Ukrainians will protect us. We come here every year to celebrate our New Year and to do pilgrimage. We are not scared. Ukrainians are amazing people. They will protect us and we'll be able to perform our pilgrimage again. So, do we have Nazis in Ukraine? I hope this is the last time you're ever gonna think that we are pro something or pro... No, we were just attacked by an aggressor. Reason? Probably money. Do we have anything Russia says on TV? We have none of that. We don't have dirty bombs. We don't have Nazis. We don't have fascists. Anything that comes out of the Russian mouth is exactly the opposite, or mirrored. They are the Nazis, they're the murderers, they're the ones with the nuclear weapons and the dirty bombs and the threats. So whatever you hear from a lot of channels, actually, even like Jazeera, are making the Russians look good. I won't tell you why. If you're interested, think about it, see some videos, and see why Jazeera is so pro-Russian. But anyway, point being is that Ukraine is a free country and we have not hurt anybody, and we don't want anybody's land. We just want what belongs to us and for these assholes to get out. It's going to be a little bit harder now because Putin mobilized a lot of people, so I guess the counterattacks are going to be a little bit slowed down because there's so much meat being thrown at us, you know, and throw enough shit at the wall, some of it is going to stick. So we're probably going to slow down a little bit. I hope he doesn't nuke anything, but if he does, it will finally be the end of him. It will not be the end of Ukraine. We don't care what he uses against us. We'll win anyway. We don't have any nuclear weapons or dirty bombs. We don't need them to defeat him. He's already defeated. He said Kherson is ours. Oh, I'm sorry, what did you say? We're just about gonna take it back. What's he gonna say then? But never mind. I think I'll leave that for the next episode. Here we are. At the brink of World War III. Oh, wait. At the brink of probably nuclear World War III. So hit that like button, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, whatever, wherever you're watching it. If you're watching it on Twitch, if you're watching it on YouTube, please support me. I'm doing my best. I hope this video isn't too long. I hope you liked it. Just click all the buttons you possibly can. If you're on Twitch, there should be links to YouTube. If you're on YouTube, there should be links on Twitch. Just click, follow, subscribe, share. Thank you very much for watching. I love you guys, and see you next time.